If you had to start your plant collection from zero, what 2 plants from each genus would you choose? That's a question that Lainey asked me over on my Patreon channel. I have a strong feeling that Lainey was inspired by a few videos that were circulating at the time about creating your perfect plant collection. That felt like an impossible task to narrow down my collection in that way. But it's been a couple of months and I've decided to put on my brave girl pants and attempt to choose plants that I would restart my collection with if I had to. But I'm gonna add a little bit of my own twist. If I have 5 or more plants from that specific genus, I'm going to choose 3 favorites instead of 2. If I have less than 5, I'm going to choose 2 plants. And there are some genera that I actually only have 1 of, or just a couple plants. I will merge some categories together, or I'm just gonna leave some genera out entirely, because even if I have a plant from that genus, it may not mean that I would necessarily go out and repurchase it if I had to restart my collection. The genera that I'm going to talk about today are Philodendron, Monstera, Hoya, Alocasia, Anthurium, Ficus, Scindapsus and Epipremnum are going to be put together, Cactus and Syngonium. So it's going to be a little bit of an interesting video, and I'm not gonna lie, it was very hard to make, but let's just get started. The first genus that I'm going to talk about is Philodendron, and Philodendron I think was my first love. Well, not my first love, but Philodendron was one of my first loves when I started collecting houseplants. This Philodendron obviously was the first one that came to my mind. I didn't want to just pick it because it's one of my favorites. I was trying to think of the aesthetic that I would go for, and this plant, it does match the aesthetic. So it's not only a favorite, but it's a must-have. If you spend any amount of time on my channel, this would not surprise you, but the Philodendron that I'm talking about is my Philodendron Jose Bono. This Philodendron checks every single box. This plant does it all for me. I am all about jungle vibes. In case you didn't know, I'm from the Caribbean island of St. Lucia. I grew up with mountains and a lush, beautiful, very rainforest-like island. So I love having greenery. I love the feel and look of commanding trees and large leaves. That's what tickles my fancy and makes me super excited. So this plant, hands down, has to be a part of my new collection for so many reasons. It's such a fast grower. It's such an easy plant to grow. It takes minimal effort, and it's again, it gives you those beautiful jungle vibes. It has the variegation. Starts off lighter white and then it fades down into like a more of a minty look to it. And then some leaves are all green. I repotted this recently, and if you're a Patreon or YouTube member, thank you so much for your support. It means a lot to me. I repotted it with them. I've put it into a little bit of soil in addition to the previous mix that it was in. It's recovering nicely, and I've brought it back upstairs into my plant room to give my plant room a little bit of a jungle vibe. So things have switched around recently in my plant room, so you'll get a tour soon. But yeah, absolutely. I have to have a Jose Bono in my collection. If I step back, it's gonna get a little dark, but it just gives you an idea of just how big this plant is. And every time I feature it, it's bigger and bigger and bigger, which is what I want, right? I don't want it to be getting smaller, but yeah. The next plant that I think I would definitely work really hard to get another one of if I had to restart is my Philodendron Squamiferum variegated. So basically my Philodendron Florida Beauty. The reason that I picked this one is because I know it has a variegation that's similar to the Jose Bono, but this one is a little bit more of a, Aurea is not the word that I'm looking for, but it's closer to Aurea than the Jose Bono. I find the Jose Bono is more of like a minty white variegation. I find this variegation to be a little bit yellower, a little bit greenish at times. It's just a little bit different. And also the shape, it brings a unique shape into my collection as well. I don't even know what to call this shape, but the Squamiferum shape, you know, it defies the round or oval or long leaf shape that we see a lot with plants. And so it just brings a little bit of interest into my collection. The other thing that I like about it is that it's not the fastest growing, at least mine isn't. And so it's not going to command space too quickly. And that's a good thing because the petioles are a little bit on the longer side. Even if I blast it and it's right in front of a Barina grow light, the petioles still get pretty long, and they can get longer than that. I've seen them a lot longer in other people's collections, but at least it's not too fast growing, so it doesn't take up space too quickly, but it can still take up a good amount of space to sort of fill in gaps and give you that jungle look. You know what I mean? It's that nice balance. Started doing this thing where it's giving me so many all green leaves that I find a little bit annoying, just a tiny bit annoying. It's not behaving just the way I'd want it to. I really should feature it more. It's on a moss pole. It's growing in a combination of Molly's Aroid mix, which is where I started off with this plant, and then I put some of my DIY mix when I repotted it, and in a self-watering pot that really helps to keep the moss pole hydrated. So yeah, this is definitely a plant that I'd want to acquire. It's a little bit harder to find where I live. I love variegated plants, so that's why it'll be on my list, and I love the shape. I'm trying to be super strict and only stay with 3, but a runner-up was my Philodendron lemon lime. I'm in love with that plant. It is fantastic. The level of yellow, the sort of this fuchsia, this neon type yellow, beautiful heart leaves. I don't know, I don't have the words. It's almost like some leaves are a muted yellow and some leaves are a glossy yellow, and the leaves grow so perfectly flat and they just lay so beautifully. It is such a well-behaved plant, and it's just so refined, I find, in the way it grows. There's not a lot of drama to it. It's really easy to grow. It's easy to find. That is a plant that I definitely would get another one of if I lost. I want it to be in the top 3 category, but the reason it's not in my top 3 category is because I want to add some depth. Surprisingly, the philodendron that kicked the lemon lime out of its deserved 3rd place is this one up here. I'm sure you already figured it out. Philodendron Micans. It feels like I just got it 6 months ago. The fall would actually be a year since I've had this plant, and I'm so surprised. The Philodendron Micans, again, I love it, love it, love it because of the dark leaves. The dark foliage is absolutely beautiful. The velvet leaves, it feels good when you touch it. It's beautiful. I mean, you've seen this plant already all over the internet. Such a fantastic plant. Absolutely love it. It would have been a little bit bigger, but I took a lot of cuttings from it, not just to give a friend, but I want to put another one of these in my north-facing window since I feel like it grows well in lower light, and it was actually a recommendation from one of my viewers that it would live well in a north-facing window. So I took a couple cuttings and I'm letting them root in the north-facing window so that when I pot them up, they will survive well there instead of rooting them in high light and then they're gonna struggle in the north-facing window. Anyways, again, the reason I picked this one is just because beautiful leaves. A lot of my leaves with depth are big leaves, like the big Anthuriums. So this one is a smaller leafed plant that's going to bring that depth. And I just love the way it grows. It's so neat in the way it cascades. It's so beautiful. Definitely a staple. Technically, I love the lemon lime more. I'm just gonna say this. I love it more, but for the function, deeper leaves. Yes. The next category we're gonna talk about is Monstera. And Monstera is the genus that I first fell in love with. We're all obsessed with the Monstera deliciosa. I think most of us have had that moment where we were totally in love. It's the ultimate jungle looking plant. So I've had my fair share of Monsteras. I've had the mini Monstera, which is technically a Rhaphidophora plant, but we call it a mini Monstera. I've had the Monstera Standleyana albo, the Monstera adansonii, the regular Monstera deliciosa, the Monstera tychon. I've had more than 5 Monsteras. I would only definitely repurchase 2 of those plants. There is one that's a wish list plant. So I would actually hold off on one of these plants and get that wish list plant. But because I don't have that plant in my collection, it technically can't be added into this list. I'll tell you that wish list plant in a minute. The first one that I want to add, and it is my Monstera Thai constellation. I know a lot of us have and love the Monstera Thai constellation. Does this actually help? I don't know if it actually helps. I love it 100 times more than the Monstera deliciosa. And if you're gonna get one, get a very variegated version because that's where it's at. That's where the excitement is at. Looking at all of this, the stunning variegation. And the newest leaf, again, I'll give you B-roll. The newest leaf is just beautiful. It just gave me so much more variegation than it ever has. And it's lovely. I remember when I was getting it, it had a very tough reputation. Everyone was like, the Tycon is so difficult. I have never had any trouble with the Tycon. I actually underwater this plant so badly, but the leaves never actually get dry. A lot of people talk about the leaves crisping. My Tycon never crisps. I actually let it sit in water. I know, don't do that. I wouldn't recommend it unless you have a very chunky mix. Unless you have a very, very chunky mix. And my Tycon, it's so rooted that the roots are out of the reservoir and circling. But I'm not talking about those little fine roots. I'm talking about the big, chunky, juicy roots. Those big ones are circling outside of the pot. So I think I need to leave some water in there for them because it dries out really, really fast. But I think the success that I've had is all about the substrate. So I'll be sure to link the video down below of what I did. And it's, you know, it's a great plant. Beautiful, beautiful. Love it. I will always want to have one. Now, the wishlist plant is the Monstera albo. If I had to choose between a Tycon and an albo, I would pick a Monstera albo. But again, it can't be part of this list because I've never owned it. But in all honesty, if I had to restart my collection, I would get an albo instead of a Tycon. Another like that type of Monstera. But yeah, honestly, again, it's a plant that I haven't mastered yet. So this is a Monstera aurea. It can get these like very yellowish variegated leaves, some a little bit marbled, some a little bit minty. And this is what everyone talks about the Tycon doing, this browning here. But this plant, I recently repotted it and I had it in my cabinet, and I think I was either away for a few days or I was really busy and I did not have my cabinet doors ajar and I wasn't here to open it every day. So I think the cabinet got a little too warm. Air wasn't able to circulate, and I think that contributed to this as well. But I think this needs to be treated just like the Tycon, where I think I need to have a little reservoir for it down below. I need to let it sit in water because it doesn't like to dry out. And don't do as I do. Don't do as I do. I can't guarantee that will succeed for everyone, but because I know my mix, this is my own chunky mix that I make. I know that my chunky mix can handle sitting in a reservoir to keep it hydrated and to encourage the roots to go down and get the water from the reservoir. I would love to see how this would look if it gets big like my Tycon. Like I would love to see those, you know, yellowish ones. And again, I got this because getting the albo is out of my price range, and this was a great price. I too am surprised by my own decisions. I would get this guy. This is a Monstera Peru. Now, I have a love and less love relationship with this plant. I think a lot of us do actually. Every time I go to a garden center and I see the Monstera Peru, I gawk at it. The glossy leaves, the texture, the bolete leaves, they're so deep and dark and so interesting. They capture me every time. I'm one who will tell you that this is a difficult plant. It is a difficult plant. It throws runners easily. I do think it's susceptible to pests. I was fighting thrips on it for a very, very long time. And I think I finally have the upper hand on thrips, especially on this plant. I think we're finally getting somewhere. But yeah, this plant is definitely one I think needs to be in a trustworthy chunky mix like Molly's Aeroid mix. I trust this mix, and I tried growing it in water. That's another time I had success. But because I live in Canada, Canada gets super cold in the winter time. It doesn't do well when the water temperature gets low and it gets really cold. So I had to put it into a chunky mix, and I had it into too much light at one point where I burned it a lot and then it had thrips. And so I think now we're finally on the up and up. But honestly, if I saw this plant, if I lost all my plants and I was in a garden center and I saw this plant, I don't think I could keep myself from not buying it again. As troublesome as it is, as I know all the things that I know about it, but a big part of me really wants to get this plant to meet its fullest potential. I want to get it to be a nice, full, long, cascading, lush version. I know that's not a lot of people are able to achieve that. And to me, that makes me want that for me even more. And so out of all the Monstera that I've owned, if I had to pick three, I would add this to the list. Next, let's talk about Hoya. A lot of you may know that Hoya is currently my favorite genus. I haven't counted, but I believe I have well over 50, maybe closer to 60 Hoya in my collection. To narrow all of that down to 3, that was extremely hard. I will have you know, I'm not necessarily choosing my 3 favorite plants. There are different characteristics of different plants that I absolutely love, but I may not want to get that plant just for that one characteristic because I will be sacrificing other characteristics. What am I talking about? Let me show you. I absolutely adore a splashy and silvery Hoya, but I also love a big leafed Hoya. In an effort to sort of get a combination of the two, I've settled on my Hoya carnosa freckles splash. This Hoya, like I said, is the best of both of those worlds. You can get these really silvery, stunning leaves or very splashy leaves, and they can also grow to be a pretty big size. I must say, this is the largest leaf carnosa that I have in my collection because I believe this is from the carnosa variety. The leaves are so big and I'm really fascinated by it. I've noticed that lately I'm getting a few less than splashy leaves. Some leaves aren't as splashy as usual, and I actually thought of cutting those not so splashy leaves back, but I've decided to leave them because I want to see if eventually the genetics will kick back into place. If not, I'll chop them off. This is a beloved Hoya in my collection. So again, I'm not just picking all my favorite plants, I'm picking plants that encompass some of my favorite things, some of my favorite characteristics. I have it growing in my DIY soilless substrate. It's in a self-watering pot, and it used to live on one of my shelves over there under Sansi lights. But I decided that I wanted to help this plant to bloom. And if you've watched my blooming video, you know that I genuinely believe that direct sunlight is a very big factor in getting Hoya to bloom. Maybe someone might say this was already going to happen. I kid you not, within a few days of putting this plant into direct sunlight in my south-facing window, I had a peduncle form grow. It's right here by my thumb, right here. There's a teeny tiny peduncle here, and I'm pretty excited about that. Carnosas aren't the easiest to get to bloom. This is such an easy plant to care for. You have to have a Hoya carnosa of some kind in your collection because they're so easy. So another Hoya that I've decided to pick, but the first one that came to my head that went on the list, and I was just like, hands down, this plant has to be on this list. You've seen it recently and it will not surprise you. It is my Hoya Bertonier SPF or my Hoya DS70. This plant is a must-have. I always recommend this plant to you whenever I feature it on my channel to show you how much I mean it when I recommend this plant. If I had to restart my collection, this would be one of the plants that I would reach for very, very quickly. And some of the things that it checks, let's just go with the obvious boxes. It's super easy to find. It's now available at Home Depots and garden centers. It's really inexpensive. A small one sells for $7 at Home Depot Canadian. It's just so easy growing. It's super fast growing. It's really satisfying. But even more so, it adds a little bit of pubescence to my collection. It has those nice fuzzy leaves, not extremely fuzzy. There are a lot of Hoya that's way more pubescent than this, but it does have a little bit of texture to it. I love the inner variegation that it has, and we're getting a lot of different colors by bringing this plant into the collection. You're getting the dark green, and then when the sun hits it beautifully, you get the inner yellowish variegation coming out. And then when the sun hits the newer leaves, it starts to sun stress a little and it gives you those pink colored leaves. So you get a little bit of everything. Hoya carnosa freckle splashed is one that I will definitely keep on a trellis because it's definitely one that will reach for something to climb on and will grow better on a trellis. This plant is just a beautiful cascading beauty. I have it in my south facing window, only now starting to push peduncles. So I have a peduncle right here. Super exciting. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know because I posted this. As soon as I saw that, it's completely root bound. So if you look into the reservoir, you can see the roots have gone in here. They're going through the wick. It's ready to be repotted. The next Hoya on my list, still torn between two plants. How about this? You tell me in the comment section which one I should pick and why. How about that? The first contender, I'm sure you won't be surprised by it. It is the Hoya Heuchkeliana. Now, this is my absolute favorite Hoya in my collection. There are a lot of other Hoya that have fought for its place, including the Hoya DS70 that you just saw. It's just a great plant in terms of beauty. It is quite difficult for me, especially when it's juvenile. When it's established and likes its environment, you're good. This plant is a little bit tricky. So that's one of the reasons why I'm hesitant to pick it. If I didn't have it in my collection, I would always be like, when can I get a Heuchkeliana? When can I get a Heuchkeliana? That will always be in the back of my mind. But the other contender that is fighting with that plant for the third place, and this is going to surprise you, it's this one. It is my Hoya australis Lisa. It checks a lot of boxes. A little challenging in the beginning, but it is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous variegation. The painted leaves. It's a budget-friendly plant. You could find it in a lot of places at a great price. It's a little bit challenged, like I said, when it's juvenile, but when it's established, it's pretty easy and it just looks so gorgeous. It does have those bigger leaves that I love and the variegation that I love as well. When they sun stress, they get these beautiful pink look to the leaves, and also new leaves will also get that beautiful sun stress look. It is just a stunning plant, and I think there's something about it being common and so beautiful and such a good price. I think the combination of those three things together make it stand out for me and make it worth it. That if I had to restart my collection, it's true that I wouldn't be like, oh man, I wish I had an australis. Like, I wouldn't pine over it the way I would pine over a Hoya Heuchkeliana. But when I go in the garden center, I'm rebuilding my collection. There's a australis. Absolutely, I'm picking up australis. It's just one of those staples. I think that's what it is. I think the Heuchkeliana is sort of a nice to have. It's this desirable, it challenges you, and it just makes you excited. I don't know. It's beautiful, but the australis is a staple. It's just a must-have. It's just a duh. It's a no-brainer. So I feel like I'm answering my own question. What did you pick? Let me know down below which one you'd pick. In saying it out loud, I think I would pick the australis Lisa. And it's growing on a tray leaf trellis. Remember when I talked about it in my tools video? Tools video, if you don't know, it's like a tools version of this video. Tools that I think are lifesavers, nice to have, or skip. I did not review it in that video because I never used it. This is my first time using it. I didn't use it at the time as yet. And so far so good. I really like it. I think it would be better if I had installed it when the plant was juvenile, so that the plant would be growing according to the trellis. When you trellis after the fact, you always sort of have leaves facing in the back. You're trying to make things work. I think it's decided. But this is the third Hoya that I would pick. Alocasia is a genus that I got into early in my plant care journey. I got them before I knew how to care for them. And yeah, anyways, I've had more than 5 Alocasia that I've either rehomed or have lost entirely. Here are the 3 Alocasia that I would pick. The first one that was a no-brainer, one of the 2 that was a no-brainer for me, was the Alocasia Black Velvet. Just to let you know, my Alocasia all look a little bit rough because they were repotted recently. They're not gonna look their best right now, but they're on the road to the recovery. But anyways, the Alocasia Black Velvet, ignore the Mitchellitziana that's in here, it's a random corm, is definitely an Alocasia. No matter how many times I see the mellow, no matter how many times I see all the other ones that look similar to this, I don't know, the Black Velvet takes the cake for me. I prefer it than all the other ones that look similar, the Maharani. Oh my goodness. The velvet leaves, the dark leaves, the veins that contrast so beautifully with the dark leaves. Beautiful. I'm always glancing over at my Black Velvet. I also find it's quite resilient. Alocasia on a whole can be tricky, right? Fussy. But I find the Black Velvet isn't as fussy as some of the other thinner leafed Alocasia. I think the leaves are a little bit thicker, and so they're a little bit more resilient to being mistreated or to a variety of situations. But I love this. I would love to have a variegated version, the one that looks pink. I can't remember the name of it right now. That would be a dream. That would be fantastic. But because I've never had that one, it can't be on this list. I was surprised that I wanted to add this Alocasia to the list. I almost kicked off my black velvet for this one. Not that I love it so much, I just think it's so unique that I will always want to have something unique as this in my collection. And this is the Alocasia cuprea. It's so unique. It's so unique. I know it can borderline look a little bit ugly. It depends. I think when I first saw this plant, I did think it was ugly. I remember thinking to myself, what can anyone find beautiful about this? It looks like an alien, or it looks like a brain, like the human brain. I don't know. It didn't appeal to me when I first saw it. One day I saw a big, beautiful version of it and I thought, yes, I can see it now. I subscribe. Again, I repotted all of my Alocasia recently, so they're all a little bit less than happy. But this plant, before its uniqueness, I would keep it around. I would want to get another one just because it's so lovely. It's not as resilient as the black velvet. It is a little bit more susceptible to pests, thrips, spider mites. I do find pests linger on it a little bit more than my black velvet. Because all the leaves are sort of bowing this way and it's not recovering well, I'm thinking of giving it a buzz cut as soon as the newest leaf comes out. But looking at it on camera, it's not as bad as I thought it was. It just needs a little bit of support. But in person, I was just like, I need to cut off all these leaves. But on the camera, it actually doesn't look so bad. So I think I just need to get it some support. I would get another one so that I can get to continue that journey. The next Alocasia on the list is one that we're gonna have to settle for some B-roll of because I just put it there recently and I don't want to move it. My Alocasia Frydek variegated. That's it right here. I will still insert some B-roll. This plant, hands down, it's a must-have. I think this plant is probably on everyone's list, if not mostly everyone's list. I have multiples of this plant in my collection, at least 3 of them. I have 3 in total, if not 4, just backups of backups, because I love this plant so much. And thankfully, the prices are coming down. They're available at Home Depot. I've seen them. I got one at Home Depot for $15. Cheap now and lovely. Are they finicky? 100%. They're totally finicky, but I think they're worth it. I think they're worth it. And it's very generous. It pushes out a lot of corms. So it's very possible to restart this plant very easily. It needs the bright light or else it's going to revert as it has done here. And it is a pest magnet. But honestly, as much as I love the Ficus, the all green version, if I had to choose between the Ficus, the all green, and this one, I definitely would pick the Frydek over the Ficus. It was very close. I thought I really wanted to include a Ficus on my list, but I just couldn't see myself removing the cuprea or the black velvet for a Ficus since I will have the Frydek on this list. It doesn't look its best right now because I repotted it recently and I moved its location a couple days ago, so it's not the happiest, but I'm hopeful. I think it's gonna love this bright spot. It just needs a little bit of time to get used to it. The next category we're gonna go into is Anthurium. And Anthurium is actually a newer genus for me. I only started collecting it, I think, in November of 2024. So less than a year, just about 7 months. And I have fallen head over heels in love with Anthurium, especially this one. You probably already knew I was gonna bring this one up, but this is my Anthurium Wendlingeri. In love. I know that the Pallidiflorum is what everyone's talking about, and I've never had that one, but I've heard that the Wendlingeri is easier to grow than the Pallidiflorum, which is already easy to grow from what I hear. I could be wrong. I was never into strapped leaf Anthuriums. Never. I was never into strap leaf plants at all. When I saw this plant, I thought, okay, you know what? Let me give it a try. I've said it a million times. The words. The dark leaves are stunning. The strappy look to it, it's so intriguing. I find myself constantly glancing over at it because it is so unlike all the other plants in my collection. I do not have a lot of pendant type plants. It is just interesting. It's so interesting. The way it grows is so interesting. The way it will initially push out a leaf that you wonder, oh, this is a little bit small. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And how each new leaf is just so significantly bigger than the ones before it. It is a plant that makes me so excited. Not the fastest grower in a way I like. When I started collecting plants, I was all about collecting the fastest growing plants that could give me instant gratification. I love that it's slow growing because you would quickly run out of space. You would quickly run out of height length, and then the leaves will start sitting on the floor. One of the perfect Anthurium. The only thing about Anthurium, and that's the case for all of them, the new leaves, if you touch them when they're hardening off, they will get a little damaged. But apart from that, it's fantastic. The leaves feel like belts, leather. It's not a velvet, although it looks like it. It's more of this leather type feel to it. It doesn't lose leaves easily. It's such a unique look to my space. And again, gives that sort of rainforest-like vibes that I love and that I naturally gravitate towards. So the next Anthurium I would hands down reach for is some form of an Anthurium luxurians. So this is my Anthurium luxurians crossed with dark crystallinum, and I've had this since October of last year. Love. Love, love, love. These plants will bring a level of depth into my collection. With the Philodendron, we talked about these bright variegation on the Jose Bono and on the Florida Beauties leaves. These plants will bring depth and bring back that jungle-like look to the collection. It will keep the normal or the common sort of roundish plant leaf shape that, you know, we like. And I love that the leaves are so big. They're super satisfying. I don't know what else to say. I just love the way they look, and I love the way my collection looks when I can see them across from my desk or when I see them in the back of my videos. If not a pure luxurians, a luxurians cross, but anything that will give it a darker look. So cross with dark crystallinum, the forgetii, luxurians and forgetii, I don't know, anything that will give me that dark look. I repotted it recently. It's in my like a homemade mix with tree fern fiber, perlite, and some horticulture charcoal. So there are two plants in here. The plant cloned itself. So the main plant pushed out this leaf, and then the juvenile plant, so the sucker, a little plant that's growing next to it, pushed out this leaf. So yeah, this is the first leaf of the new plant that, if you look here in the back, you can see this is the sucker, the baby plant here, and this is the mother plant. And so if I wanted, I could cut it and get two separate plants, which is what a lot of people do, but I prefer having a nice full look to my plants. So I'm gonna keep all of it together. The last Anthurium that I would pick is one that I think is going to surprise you. I don't think you're expecting this Anthurium to be on my list. This one kept coming back to me. So the third Anthurium that I would pick, add to my buyback list, would be this one. This is my Anthurium Heuchkeliana. She's difficult, she's fussy, she's hard to find, she's all of those things. She's a diva. All the things, keep them coming. She's worthy of all of the critiques that you may have for her, but she's beautiful. A plant that I haven't yet figured out. I'm intrigued by plants that I haven't perfected yet. And she is walking that fine line where she's giving me something. So I'm not quite frustrated with her just yet. Now and then she'll give me a beautiful new leaf. And every time I show you her, that's when she has a new leaf. In my care, I think she's given me 3 leaves, but she's a one-leafed wonder. And it could be because the calcium, I think some of you were telling me that I need to get some fertilizer with calcium in there, because the leaves would just yellow and die off, and then a new one would come, and it would just keep doing that cycle over and over. The point that I'm trying to make is that I haven't figured her out just yet. And so I'm still curious, not yet frustrated, but still a little bit curious, because I feel like when you do figure out the Queen Anthurium, I think the payoff is stunning. Big, beautiful versions of this velvet, dark long leaf. Like, come on. She's going to keep things fun. So I don't just want to have a bunch of easy plants. I want plants that's going to make me excited and going to challenge me a little bit. And she's one of them. Next category is Ficus, a genus that some of us love to hate or hate to love. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but it's a genus that I've had my fair share of experience with. I've had the Ficus lyrata, which is the tree you could see behind me, or the fiddle leaf fig. I've had the Ficus benjamina, Ficus burgundy. I've had 2 of those. It's like I've had a couple, but in that couple, it has been less than 5. As much as I love my fiddle leaf fig, in reality, if I had to restart my collection, I probably would grab this guy. This is my Ficus tineki. I probably should push the camera back a little bit more. Back. This is my Ficus tineki. And I remember when I first saw the tineki, I was in absolute love with it. Those paddle-like leaves with beautiful inner variegation. I remember just sitting down with my coffee, staring at the leaves of this plant. The leaves just have this beautiful painted look to them, like an artist's design. They just look brushed. They're so beautiful. And then the new leaves have this hot pink sun-stressed look to them. It's just a beautiful plant. I feel like I still have more to do with this plant. I wanted to put this plant in another part of my home that didn't have a lot of light, and I used one of those orange pink grow lights, oh my goodness, that I talked about in my recent tools video, and I almost lost this plant. And ever since then, it's always given me like brown edges on the leaves. It's never fully been happy. So even if I got it to grow really tall at one point, there was just a lot of brown leaves on the bottom. So I chopped, not a buzz cut, but I chopped it down all the way to the very bottom and just took the top parts and just tuck them back in to get a fuller plant. So this has at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This has 7 plants in here. 7. It's finally made a comeback and it's doing so much better. I just have to stay on top of the watering and just make sure that it's hydrated well, because it is in a south facing window, but I want to have a nice big version of this plant, like how I have a nice big version of my fiddly fig tree. Next, let's talk about Epipremnum and Scindapsus. So we're going to have 3 plants from the Epipremnum and Scindapsus category. I put them together because I only have about 2 Scindapsus plants in my collection. So you may remember this plant. I am so terribly versed in Scindapsus. I have no idea which one is which. This guy was gifted to me by my mom. You might remember the video when I got this and I was just super duper excited. I'm getting excited. This is, I think, a combination of an Exotica and something else. Let's pick Exotica. Let's just say it's mostly Exotica. I love the big, beautiful Scindapsus leaves. We've seen Scindapsus a whole lot. Before I got this, I don't know if I would have gone out and purchased this Scindapsus for myself. And if I lost all of my plants, would I go out and buy a Scindapsus? Probably not. But if I had to, for the sake of this video, pick a Scindapsus that I would get out of what I already own, it would be this one. It would be the Exotica. And shockingly, again, I would pick this over the Trubii Moonlight just because the leaves are so much more interesting. This, I just find it catches my fancy. It catches my attention a little bit more. I love how big the leaves get. The Trubii Moonlight leaves can get big too, but I feel like it gets bigger faster on this one. Reason that I would not get the lemon lime philodendron is because I would get the neon pothos. This plant is actually a repurchased plant. The neon pothos was one of the first plants I ever got when I started collecting houseplants. I went on vacation and I lost it. That's what happened. I tried to salvage it and it just wasn't working. So I decided just to get a brand new one, and so I just got this for a couple, like maybe $10 from my local plant nursery. Definitely not growing as quickly as the first ones I had when I got them, but it could be because I'm not watering it fast enough. Not sure, not quite sure. But anyways, I love yellow. It's my favorite color, and I just love the fuchsia leaves. It's just so gorgeous. If you look at some of my older videos, you will see like a huge neon pothos cascading down the sides. That's beautiful. And every time I look at these old videos, I miss it so much. So definitely I would try to get a neon pothos and get a nice cascading one. The last plant in the Scindapsus / pothos category, I don't know why this is such a mouthful. You already know. This is a plant that I would repurchase. Definitely will always want to have one of these in my collection. The Manjula pothos is absolutely beautiful, stunning. You've seen this a million times. The crumpled leaves, they're beautiful. I love the way they size up and open up so beautifully when you put it on a moss pole and let it climb up. I recently repotted it in a membership video, put a little extra soil in it, and then I brought it outside, washed it down. It looks like we are over thrips for the time being, but as you can see, the damage is still there. And while I was rinsing it off outside, the wind knocked it over, so some of the leaves did get damaged and they're a little brown. But if I step back, See if I can get the whole plant in the frame. Maybe if I do it sideways, don't fall down. Like, it's such a beautiful plant. Totally worth it to put this plant on a moss pole. It is just beautiful. The leaves look painted, a light green, white, dark green colors. It's just so beautiful. And again, I always want to have one of these. The next category that we're going to get into is the cactus. So I don't have a whole lot of cactus in my collection. I have had the spiky cactus. I have had that enter my collection a couple of times and I've parted ways with them. Sansevieria, the rickrack cactus, and the whale shark fin cactus. If I had to pick out of all the cactus that I've ever owned and Sansevieria I've ever owned, I was thinking at first the rickrack because I really like the rickrack. But the whale fin cactus is definitely one that I would repurchase in this category. It's crazy to me because I was never a cactus lover until maybe a month or 2-3 months ago. I think I was watching some other videos and I just saw beautiful versions. It's one of these plants, when you see a juvenile version, it's not so impressive, but then when you see a mature one, it definitely catches your attention a whole lot more. I got this one and I repotted it recently. It used to be in soil and I took it out of the soil, took off all the soil and put it into my homemade pond. So it's not going to be the happiest. Right now, it's not looking the best that it can look. It's sort of recovering, but absolutely, I love the way this looks. It breaks up the round leaf shape. It just creates more dimension in the collection. It creates more interest when you look on the shelves to see the different shapes and styles, just the different plants. And I haven't had a chance to grow this to maturity as yet. I mean, I know this is a sort of a mature one, but like a nice big lush version, I haven't gotten there yet. So it's another reason why I would get this one so that I can get a chance, I can get a try at getting a nice big beautiful versions of. Get into Syngonium. So in this category, I've had a few Syngonium. I think I've had at least 4 types of Syngonium, maybe 4 or 5. I don't think I want to pick more than this one. There's another one that comes close, but I think my heart is set on this one. The Syngonium red spot tricolor. Mine is a little worse for wear. It doesn't look the best. It has looked better and it was neglected for a very long time. Syngonium grow a little too fast, become very overgrown quite quickly, and it become a little bit of a menace. But I find this one in particular does not grow out as fast as the others. And I like that it's pink. It's, you know, I don't know of a lot of Syngonium with pink. I know that there are others. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's none, but this one has pink in it and I prefer it to the milk confetti. My mom has a milk confetti and she's been able to get some beautiful pink leaves out of it. At some point, the leaves just start to look messy, a little bit muddy. And I like that the red spot tricolor keeps the defined pink lines, the defined white. I just find I like this a little bit better than some of the other colored Syngonium that can get a little bit muddled after a while. Would I repurchase this? Probably not. I would just get a cutting from my mom. But if I had to be like, hey, I don't have any Syngonium, let me get a Syngonium in my collection, I would get one of these. And my mom has a couple cuttings. She has a plant that I gave her. So she has my backups. If I need more, I could just get a quick cutting from her. But yeah, it doesn't look its best right now. It probably needs to be chopped back again to get a full look. But yeah, that's the one that I would pick. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know what your must-have plants are. 3 or 2 plants from each genus that you would definitely repurchase if you lost your entire collection. I appreciate you spending some time with me. Drop a green heart down below. We did yellow hearts last time, so drop a green heart down below if you watched all the way to the end. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.